Hey everybody, welcome to episode number 4 of the WADcast. I am one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by the ever lovable and oh so cute Brandon.
Hello.
And tonight we are joined by a special guest whom needs no introduction, but we're going to get one anyway.
You are going to get one. You're going to like it, Ernest. Okay?
Brandon, introduce our guest. You seem to know.
Okay. Okay. Yes. For everyone who doesn't know me, I have a very, very, very large branching family tree.
Indeed.
And I have a gentleman who is not really my cousin by any kind of relationship through legalities, but we were raised together since diaperhood. His name is Ernest White II. He is a host of a now travel TV show that just aired, I believe, this week, right, Ernest?
Yes, this past week was the debut in 4 markets.
And so I'll get into just a moment here, but the show goes back. It started years ago. Ernest is going to get into all of that, but he's been working. He's hit brick walls. He's been told no. He's had things fall through. He never gave up. And I think, actually, Josh, that was a point that we brought up in a past show about how people just tend to, something goes wrong, they're like, oh, well, fuck it. Oh, well. And it didn't happen. Time to go to the next plan and give up on this stuff. Ernest didn't do that. He busted his ass, blood, sweat, tears, travel, finances, hardships, all kinds of things that could go wrong, went wrong, and he still got shit done. So, Ernest, I'm going to let you take it from here if you would like to introduce yourself and talk about your show a little bit, and then we'll get into the interrogation.
All right, man. Well, thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Josh. I really appreciate you guys having me on the show. Thank you, audience, for listening, for being present. And, so I'll tell you a little bit about the show and then a little bit about me, and then you can just fire away with the question. Okay. So my travel series is titled Fly Brother with Ernest White II. It is a show about friendship and connection around the world. And so I go to different places where I've got friends. They bring me into their community, show me what they love about the place, and we show the audience that the whole world is our tribe. And right now, the show is debuting on public television stations around the country. We have already debuted this past week, the first episode in season 1, which is 8 episodes, in Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the San Francisco Bay Area, Marquette, Michigan, South Bend, Indiana, the entire state of South Carolina, which also includes a little bit of the Charlotte viewing area, and Washington, D.C., so D.C., Maryland, Virginia. We've got KVCR, Inland Empire, public television coming up in Southern California, and I believe Baltimore and all of Maryland's public television also later this week. Providence, Rhode Island is today, May 8th. So that's kind of what's happening with the series. And a little bit about me. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida originally. And like Brandon said, I grew up as kind of his play cousin. And essentially, my parents were teachers at his father's high school. And because when I was born, my grandparents, my parents' parents, hadn't, they were not alive. And so Brandon's grandparents ended up kind of adopting us, my brother and I, as grandkids. And so we were raised alongside their grandkids, of which one was Brandon. And I worked as a professor and a writer, a journalist, in many different countries, about 5 countries, actually. In Colombia, in Brazil, in Germany off and on, in South Africa, and different parts of the U.S. I've traveled to about 70 countries, just out of curiosity and interest. I've always been interested in geography. I did my first study abroad when I was 16. I went to Sweden, and I've been back many, many times. I have a phenomenal group of friends and lovers, business partners around the world, colleagues, people that I'm able to maintain connections with through the technology that we have nowadays. Back in the day, you had to spend $6 a minute on a phone call, long distance phone call, or you had to send postcards and letters. But now we can have the world through our smartphones. And it's been a wonderful experience, full of many highs, many lows, but a lot of adventure, a lot of intrigue, a lot of romance. And I really want to be able to share those experiences with the world. I want people to know what it feels like to travel to different places and realize that really it doesn't matter where we're from. It doesn't matter what we look like. We all just want to be seen, empowered, and loved. And that's the purpose of my show. And that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. What would you, okay, well, see, I know the full history. I was, privy to the, I was
those little talking points.
No. I was actually not going to get into that. I was actually not going to say anything like that. I was just going to say that I was privy to the whole history of everything, dating back to when Grandma was still with us. But Josh is you and I had some conversations about the questioning aspect of things, and I told you I'd let you get started. Is there anything that you wanted to ask our esteemed first live special guest?
Oh, well, let's see. Nope, no questions here. So thanks for joining us, everybody.
All right, pizza and beer.
I've got the beer part right now. So,
okay. First question, Ernest. You seem to love travel and wanted to put it in front of a camera, and I'm sure that you have seen a lot of interesting things over the course of filming. Without spoilers, because I want people to tune in. Can you give us an interesting story that took place maybe when the cameras weren't rolling?
Oh, sure. I actually almost got into a fight with someone in Sao Paulo, Brazil, on a bridge. He was standing behind, I don't know if he was drunk or not, but it was a kind of middle-aged man. He was standing behind my cameraman, and he was talking crap into behind the camera. So that audio was being captured. And eventually I had just had enough, and so I engaged him. And we were basically loud talking each other in Portuguese on a bridge in the middle of Sao Paulo. There was some chest thumping.
As one does.
And eventually we were, separated before anything kind of got out of hand. But I will say that my cameraman smartly recorded at least a good, 90 seconds of the altercation. And so I'm happy that I came off the chest thumping Neanderthal that I can be.
And for those of you, for those of you that don't know anything about Ernest or have never met him, he's not a small guy. So I can only assume that the guy that you're bumping chest with was probably smaller than you.
He was.
To which I've got to say, kudos on the balls, man. I mean, that's just.
Oh yeah, I mean but I didn't care either. He didn't care, and I didn't care, and so I feel like people could tell, and therefore they separated us. But that's probably the most salacious or juiciest off-camera story. Everything else was pretty much run-of-the-mill production challenges, trying to get budgets aligned with time schedules, and the disorganization of an independent project. But that would be the only kind of really fun story. Everything else was just okay, we relate to, connect with our hosts or something like that. Or it rained on us. It did hail on us, actually, in Bogota. We were filming in Colombia, and it hailed while we were there, which is not uncommon because of the altitude of Bogota. But it was not. It was unfortunate for our production because we had to stop filming because people were getting pelleted with ice.
Yeah. Yeah, hail is not uncommon and it's not unpleasant. So,
it was unpleasant for us.
So winding the clocks back, every production has some kind of issues coming out of the gates. And I remember having conversations with you in the past about budgetary constraints and trying to raise money for stuff. At times, I think this predates the travel show, when there were actually times where you ended up getting stuck because things financially just didn't really work out in your favor at times, but you were still going about doing your thing with traveling. But when it comes to the actual show, what kind of things what kind of problems did you run into that you almost wanted to just, throw your hands up and say, fuck it, but then you realize, you actually really loved what you're doing, so you kept doing it? Like, what was the hardest thing that you can think of that came out of, like, the biggest brick wall, if you will?
Sure.
That came out of trying to get this thing going.
Well, I would say 8 times out of 10, it was money. We never were in the black, if you will. We always started out kind of working on the project before the money showed up. And so we would film, we got a little seed money at the beginning, but I also leveraged my connections working as a travel journalist to have our, to be sponsored on the ground, to work with destinations, to because that's the thing, in-kind services. We're really often, you go on what's the equivalent of a press trip, as you're filming. But that doesn't really give us much leeway for the cost of actual filming. It just means that being in the destination might be covered, but we still have to pay salaries, etc., and editing and that kind of thing. And that was always kind of an uphill battle. And there were times where it just felt like, we were pushed to almost shutting down the whole project, because I'd have conversation after conversation after conversation with people about the importance of the project, what we were doing. The fact that I'm still, even now, one of the only black gay travel hosts on television. And so there were a lot of people who were aligned with making sure that diverse stories were being told, and that there was room for this kind of show, which is focused on friendship and connectivity. And travel shows that are focused on food and dance and sightseeing, they're great. They're necessary, and I don't see those as competitors. I see them as complementary to what we do. But we're still doing something differently than what's already been done. And so you're thinking like, okay, I've got something I'm called to do. It fits me perfectly. I've got enough people in my sphere that this should be working, but it's not working for whatever reason. And many times it was just like, you know what, screw it. I can just go back to teaching. I can get a job at the post office, whatever. But anything that, is connected to a steady paycheck is better than the uncertainty of this particular project. I would sometimes get into that mindset. And the other 20% of the time would just be my own demons, my own shadow showing up, just like having been a fat teenager or having been someone who never really wanted to be on camera. My focus had been writing as a storyteller. That was always what I was more interested in, and was kind of, I wouldn't say coerced, but I definitely had to be convinced to even begin the project in the first place. A buddy of mine from college had involved himself with a small startup cable network, and that's how we got, he commissioned the show, but because they were a small startup network, there was no money at the beginning. It was just like, hey, we really want to, kind of help each other out here. You give us some amazing content. We'll have a non-exclusivity agreement. You sell the show, then great, but we'll also give you the support by saying you've got a distributor, giving you whatever paperwork, decks, anything you need, and also just development guidance. And again, it was a buddy of mine. It wasn't someone who was trying to take advantage. He was just looking at an opportunity for both of us to expand into a greater iteration of ourselves. The problem was I didn't want to expand into a greater iteration of myself. And so, not at the beginning. And so some of those times I'd be exhausted from traveling, from filming, from having to be in front of the camera, from having people stare at me, wonder what I'm doing, stand around looking while I'm trying to talk about what we're engaged with, or talk to the person who's in the scene with me. And there was just a lot of newness, a lot of trial and error and trial by fire and all these different things that go along with doing something kind of big for the first time. And that also got me sometimes to a place where I was just like, screw this. I don't care. But,
Yeah.
you know, some kind of way, I wasn't allowed to walk away from the project. And that's what brought us to where we are today. And it's really exciting to kind of see it come together. But there's been this forward momentum for a few months now, and it hadn't been like, oh, boom, the dam broke and now all of a sudden there's all this money. But other resources and other things have come into alignment. Other people who were very much interested in seeing this thing propelled, and they've joined the team, and we're all pushing the rock up the hill. So that's how it feels, actually. There's still a rock that we're pushing up the hill, but now there are 20 of us as opposed to just 3 of us like there were before. And that's where it gets exciting, because you can see the forward momentum and where we're headed.
Okay.
That's pretty cool. Seeing your crew grow and come together to help one singular dream come true. That's
and take responsibility too, and do things without having to be told. I'm sorry for interrupting, but that's a huge part.
That's a lot of what we talk about here on the WADcast when it comes to production. Finding those special people that will help you in your dreams and your projects.
Yes,
because when you do, it's life altering. From
100%.
What I want to know, you've done a lot of traveling, and right now that's not really a feasible option
or illegal in some instances. Yeah.
So I was curious, when did the taping take place?
We filmed over probably a 3-year period from the time we filmed the very first episode, which was the Sao Paulo episode. That was filmed in February of 2017. And then we did a couple of episodes that summer, and then a few others in 2018. And our last episode we filmed in October of 2019. So, and that was definitely dependent upon the funding that we were able to secure.
So while people watch, they're definitely going to get the before time vibe, right?
Oh, I'm probably like 5 different sizes in across the season, because especially in instances where we filmed maybe 3 or 4 episodes in a row. I mean, obviously I lost weight over that shoot because we were traveling a lot. I was out in the streets, filming and not eating as much. And I always lose weight. I'm thick, and I tend to lose weight when I'm overseas just because I'm eating less and the food's got less preservatives and chemicals and all that kind of stuff. And so you can definitely see a yo-yoing. But I don't think that takes away from the series. I think it actually makes me much more relatable. It is a docu-series, which means that has a loose outline, but we really wanted we wanted to free ourselves of the yoke of perfection. And we also wanted it to be authentic. So if we go to a place and it's raining, well, how do you connect with people when it's raining? What does it do to build your community, to be out there and really engage with the place in the rain? Because not everybody's going to be able to go and do that when the weather's perfect. You know what I mean? And so it was important for me to have that option of covering a place in whatever state it's in. And so, yeah, all of those things come into play. My wardrobe I didn't have a stylist. I had to grab things out of my closet. And certainly people were like, I wish you had called me. Well, busy filming an episode. But my point is, there are things that are just going to bear the mark of an independent production, and people who are good. We are good at our jobs, but we were also doing something for the first time. I am a good storyteller. This is a different medium, So it's how does a good storyteller do a good writer create a TV show and host a TV show and all of these different things. So yeah, it won't be what Anthony Bourdain ended up being. It won't be what Rick Steves has ended up being. It'll be what a lot of these people were when they first stepped out in front of a camera.
So what I'm hearing
and
is...
actually I had to be okay with that, by the way. I had to make myself be okay with that, to be okay without the perfection.
And what cracks me up is something you just said is that you didn't have a stylist. And the reason why that cracks me up is because I saw the trailer. I saw my girlfriend Danielle and I, we came out to, I think it was the, like a screening of your pilot episode, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. And
you look pretty, and you look pretty damn good. Like in those videos, you look like you were all styled up. I'm looking at this and you're saying, well, I didn't have a stylist. I'm saying with Danielle, I was like, man, he's got some style.
Man,
and that says all kinds of things. That says all kinds of things about me, because even as we're having this conversation, I'm wearing a pair of torn up jeans I've been proud of wearing all day. That are covered in stains, and a tank top that's just tattered.
Wait,
and I'm here. I was like, oh yeah, well my style, you got these crisp shorts on, these nice flip flops, this V-neck T-shirt. Like, man,
crisp.
This man looks. It's like this man looks good. And you're like, oh, I mean, I didn't look that great all the time. I'm like, oh, well.
Was I supposed to get dressed for this?
Right. Well, I'm in T-shirt and jeans right now myself, but it is a stylish V-neck.
Is it crisp?
It is crisp. And
told you.
Clean white. It's fresh and clean. It's sparkling white. And white. But I'm telling you, man, some of those clothes were borrowed, some of them were baggy, and people who know what they're looking at when they see TV are just like, dude.
And you said something to me, I don't know if, well, you and I have had so many conversations, be it in person or over the phone or however over the last couple of years about numerous things with your travels. And I think you told me one time that I think you said that there was it was either you or somebody... Because back when you had the Fly Brother blog, you had a few different people that you would mention their names and everything else. So I don't remember if it was you or somebody else, but they're talking about how something happened, all their clothes were destroyed. They had no way, they had to go out to thrift stores and buy clothes for what came to about I think $4 for a couple pairs of jeans and shirts or something. I don't remember if that was you or somebody else.
It was not me, but I will say that I have gone to thrift stores, or I actually have a very good friend, Cindy, in Miami. The best things that I wore in these episodes, she found for me at Goodwills in Miami, because a lot of those Goodwills that she would go to were places where people would just dump luxury items, luxury brands. And so I got this fly John Varvatos sweater that I rocked as often as I could, just because I loved it. The fabric was this is nice. And so, some things were very nice because they were sourced by someone who knew what she was looking at. But yeah, they were from thrift stores. I'm not ashamed to say it, because what else were we going to do? We didn't have a budget for clothing.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to wear something different in every episode. And also it needed something that was appropriate to the destination. In Stockholm, we were in Stockholm in April or May, I believe, probably April, and it was chilly, and then we went to Casablanca, and it was hot. So, that's just kind of how it goes.
So, I mean, so as far as the clothes go, I mean, would you recommend that to people that are traveling? What would your advice be to someone that actually wants to go out and travel? Because, well, let's start with you, actually. What made you want to get into traveling in the first place?
Well, I don't think it was. It was very much innate, And Brandon, this is where it goes back to our upbringing. We had people in our lives who were from different places, who looked different ways, who had so many different experiences. Both of my parents were teachers, and so they always had books and magazines. And grandma, when I was 10, she got me a 10-year subscription to National Geographic. Like there was this environment of education and therefore adventure. I would get lost in books and movies and stories. I was a nerd and I was fat. So while everybody else was outside running around, in the outdoors in Florida, I was like reading the M edition of the World Book Encyclopedia. And the reason I would read M was because it was the biggest of all the like issues or not issues, but volumes. And so that was kind of that very fertile ground. We had, so it would be Omi, who was your kind of step great grandma.
Yeah, I remember her.
From Germany. And I remember, as one of my earliest memories this might have been when I was 5 years old, she brought me up to a globe and pointed out the fact that Europe was not across the ocean from Florida, but Africa was. If you drew a direct line straight, due east across the Atlantic Ocean, Florida was at latitude, as I say. So like that kind of awareness of the world was instilled in me very early. And it was stoked, my kind of desire to learn places and people. Say in me, my natural curiosities leaned towards languages, towards maps and flags, cultural costumes and dance and music, and just all kinds of things that had to do with how people exist in the world. And so from there, it kind of just grew to the point that when I was in high school, I knew that some kind of way I wanted to be a foreign exchange. And that opportunity presented itself. I was walking Regency Square Mall in Jacksonville when I was in high school. And
back when it was still a mall.
Back when it was still a mall, and the mall to go to.
The mall.
And there was a table had an organization called YFU, Youth for Understanding, and they did international exchanges. And I asked my parents if we could host a foreign exchange student, and they were like, no, but you can go. And so I had my little telemarketing job, AT&T, when I was 16, and I raised the $2,500 program fee. My parents threw in a little bit of money, and my church took the collection and gave me some money to go to Sweden when I was 16, and I stayed with the family. And that was just a life-forming experience for me. Everything changed after that because there was no longer any limit to where I could go. And that's kind of what got it all started, really. And also, I would say, when I was a kid, I got a gift from the wife of the preacher of my church. Southern, we were all raised in church. And she gave me a book called Free Stuff for Kids. And in that book, you could order all kinds of like travel pamphlets, brochures, maps, posters from all the different tourism boards and visitors and convention and visitors bureaus, and from the U.S., all the different states, major cities, but then also countries around the world. And you could order things just by sending off a little postcard. And I did. And I got so much stuff that my parents ended up getting me a file cabinet to put all that information in. I would call airlines in the phone book and order timetables. I would I'd ask my mom, could we stop by a travel agent just to collect information? Those little travel brochures at every Shoney's, Denny's, IHOP, right by the door, where you'd have like those flyers and postcards for hotels and we lived in Florida, so there was all that crap. I collected it all. Yeah. My mom called me a pack rat, but so like that kind of stuff, man. I was a little mini travel agency, and again, a nerd. So I would collect information about countries and the capitals and the major cities, language, study the almanac and the Rand McNally Road Atlas. I remember one birthday asking my dad. My parents were like, Rand McNally. They were like, that's it? You want two? because it was like $4.99 from
Oh
Walmart.
God.
So yeah, like that's how it all got started, and
So,
I really haven't stopped since.
wait, see, there was one thing that you said just within this past year, I believe. You and I were talking about a few things, and you had discussed about how one thing that kept you traveling, and I think one thing that, like, one reason why I started the Fly blog, and I think it was, 2007, right, when you started the blog?
Maybe '08 for Fly Brother. I had like earlier iterations of the
Okay.
blog as early as like 2006.
So, but like, the reason why one of the big things that you looked forward to was to, and for those of you that don't know Ernest at all, as I said, we consider ourselves to be cousins. We are not of the same ethnicity. Not that it matters to me, but the reason why I say this is in regards to this next point. Ernest, you've talked to me about how you want to stress for people in, like, not white neighborhoods, but people of color, and like neighborhoods full of people of color. For those generations, like the younger generations, older generations, anyone really that has never really been outside of their comfort zone to expand their horizon and actually check out other countries in the world and experience other cultures. And I really like that because one thing about your pilot was I think you say something in the pilot. Mind you, last time I saw was when I was watching the screening when you were out here in LA. But I think there was a part in the pilot where you said on the show that there was no difference despite the differences of the people of different ethnicities and different backgrounds and origins from around the world. You were just people, despite the language barriers, sitting down, having a conversation.
I mean, man, that's all we are. Man. Everything, culture is cosmetic.
Exactly.
That's not mine. That's actually from Passing Strange. But culture is cosmetic. It's all superficial. In the end, like we all need to eat. We all need to make love. We all need to engage with people. We all need to create things that we're proud of in our lives. We, again, all want to be seen. We all want to be empowered, and we all want to be loved. Everything else is just the different ways of doing those same things. And so, and I was raised that way. You were raised that way.
Yep.
My parents, were raised in segregation in Jacksonville. Okay. The schools desegregated when my mom was like in her 30s. But I never once, they were told they couldn't go to the beach. They were told they couldn't go here and there and couldn't do this and that. But I also never heard my parents judge an entire group of people by the actions of one person. And so I was raised to look at the commonalities that we have, what makes us laugh, what makes us engage with people, And that's kind of that behavior was modeled for me by my parents, by your parents, by our grandparents. And that, and we can admit that there's some political divide in our kind of Brady Bunch style family collective.
There's such a huge divide there. But the thing is despite our differences. Oh yeah, no, despite our differences, and some of us can even go a while without really even everybody. Our family, even though it's integrated. It's a mixing pot of cultures, races, whatever else, however you want to define it. I define it as a family. We get along, we squabble, we fight, we argue, but at the end of the day, like, I'll put it this way. Grandma passed away 2 years ago this past April. When she passed away, missed that.
And her birthday was like was April 29th.
Yep, her birthday just passed. But point is that when that happened, despite differences, we still came together.
Yes. Or did I get the date wrong? April 25th, April 29th, April 28th?
I plead the 5th. I'm horrible about this. I know it's late April. I was just hoping that you were right about that one. I still miss her, and I still love her, but still,
Yes. She was such a great lady, and like we talked about, relatively stoic. Like she, I don't remember many hugs from Mom. but I remember so much love.
If you wanted hugs, oh, I'm sorry. My mom just messaged. I'm sorry. My mom just messaged me. It's April 28th. So.
Oh, the 28th. All right. Amen. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Mom.
I love it.
But the thing is the point remains, despite racial differences of the era, my grandparents, your parents, were very close. Remember, my grandma, just from much, you guys came into our lives just by my grandma saying, "Oh yeah, well, I can babysit for you."
Yeah.
And that's pretty much how that began. And as your desire to travel, or actually, let me rephrase it, as your curiosity towards the rest of the world increased, there wasn't a single person in the family that said no to you, especially grandma, especially your parents. Even Omi, well, mainly Omi, but Omi and Alpa, they both supported. But Omi was also part of raising your curiosities as well. But not a single person looked at anything exactly. Like nobody stifled your curiosities. It was just really encouraging you. And this came up in Marshall last week. Not everyone has that level of support. Unfortunately, I wish that was
absolutely
wrong,
right.
but not everyone has.
And I'm sorry for interrupting you, man, but I think it's
fine,
important to note right here. I had a heck of a lot of support. I absolutely did, and I don't want to necessarily throw any of my family members under. But there was not always understanding. There was sometimes a questioning of why are you doing these things that are not necessarily what we're familiar with? So there's that. And there's the fact that I was pretty much a fat nerd that was, I wasn't necessarily beaten up, but I was very much so I was quite unpopular in school. And so even though the adults in my life were more or less supportive in many ways, my peers were not. I was very much in a situation. I hated going. I bonded with a lot of my teachers because they saw that I was being traumatized by my fellow classmates in many ways. And I don't mean to say that I didn't have any friends or any fellow students who, would not stand up for me. I did. I had some of that. A lot of it was unpleasant. And so I did go through a period where I had to really kind of, I don't know how I did it, but I just, I powered through on inner strength. And I never hated them. Yeah. And I was always kind of inherently trying to, or subconsciously trying to expand everybody's possibilities. And I'm not claiming that to say I was doing that intentionally, but I will say, for example, as a senior in high school, we would always have a senior trip to go someplace. Okay. The trip that was generally planned was to New Orleans and Atlanta, which to me were boring and banal because we're already Southern. Who gives a damn? I was like, let's go to Washington, D.C. And so I was, kind of took the reins and planned a trip to Washington for the kids who hated me, for the kids who called me a fat faggot and all these other, well, that's pretty much all they called me. And so but the idea was let's do more, let's go more, let's, and I would run for office, class office and this and that and the other and be trounced tragically. But still, my point is, in the face of non-agreement, in the face of obstacles and of just negativity and trauma and strife, some kind of way I was brought through it, recognizing that there is and can be and there is a way for everybody to do and be more in their lives. I think that was also modeled for people consistently while I was being harassed by my classmates, they were being supported. they were telling me, there were people at my church who they couldn't tell the difference between Sweden or Switzerland. Literally, they were like, "Oh, you going to Switzerland, baby?" Here, and would write me like a little $25 check. Like that. That's love. Like they didn't have to know, they didn't have to understand. They just knew that I was doing something that was kind of carrying the banner, if you will. I was doing something they weren't able to do, but they were in a position to appreciate that. And not all of my peers were able to appreciate it. But when I started blogging, when I was overseas, then I recognized it was my duty and responsibility to share my experiences with other people who were traveling vicariously through me.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry y'all for all that soapbox.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Josh, how much time do we have on this thing?
Say again?
How much time do we have on the podcast?
Well,
or the WADcast?
Pretty interesting question, because we could technically go for another 2 hours and 20 minutes. No problem.
Oh, God.
I love you guys, but...
All right, well, how about this?
We're at 41 minutes
in. We're 41 minutes in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, that's we haven't, reached our max yet, so go for the gold.
But wait, there's more.
Well, real quick, Ernest, I'm not going to kick you off the show because A, I love you, and B,
I love you too, man.
I want you to play into our little games that we have here. But I want you to tell people where they can see the Fly Brother TV show, where they can follow you on social media.
Sure.
And I also post this on our website, on our Facebook page, on our Instagram. Josh will take care of the Twitter because I suck at Twitter. And so go ahead, let it rip, and then we'll go on with the rest of the show before we call it a night.
All right, man. Well, you can find right now Fly Brother on public television stations nationwide, debuting in a cascade of premiere dates. You can find those out at flybrother.net. That's the show's website. You can also check your local listings because the dates and times change. And so check your local listings. If you don't see it in your coverage area, then contact your public television station near you and ask them when they plan to air Fly Brother with Ernest White II. If they don't have a debut date yet, then ask them to do so, that you're interested, you want to connect with the world, and you're so much about the show. You can tell them all those things. Even if they aren't true, please tell them. And we'll be then debuting nationwide later in the summer on Create TV, which is a cable network. And social media. Instagram is Fly Brother, Twitter Fly Brother, and Facebook is Fly Brother Fly.
Okay. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages.
Damas y caballeros.
Everybody, this is Ernest White II. He's been talking about Fly Brother. Not that I have to say that, unless you guys are late to the show because you're unfaithful to us. In which case, welcome, bitches.
Oh dear.
Okay. Let me first off, in case they're listening, Grandma and Grandpa White, I'm sorry. I've been trying very hard to control my mouth. You both know that I have the mouth of a sailor. I have the foulest mouth in the family. I am working on it as much as possible.
They know you have your father's mouth.
Oh God. But I think I have him beat. But
oh dear.
I was raised a good part of my life in New Jersey. Remember that. So the F word comes out quite often. But either way, so Ernest. So I knew it was going to happen. I knew it.
What'd you say? I didn't hear anything.
Oh, good. Never mind. Ernest, I thank you for talking about the Fly Brother TV show. I am super stoked to actually be able to watch it and partake in your travels from California. But either way, so coming off that, Josh and I have a game that we play, that we do once in a while, kind of. And when I say once in a while, once in our 4 episode span so far, where we pick a writer, actor, and a director that we would love to work with.
Or just talk to.
Or just talk to, whatever. Pick your brains. Pick their brains, work with them, however you want to go about it. This isn't like one of those sleep, marry, kill things. It's just someone or people that you would like to actually, either work with or talk to or just get to know. So, Ernest, I will let you go first, put you on the spot. Writer, actor, director. Yeah, I'll let you go. I'll let you off easy. It can be one of the three if possible.
Okay, but they need to be alive. Is that correct?
It doesn't matter to me. It'd just be a little weird. I mean, there's Ouija boards.
Are we? I'm gonna say alive because I want to be able to engage with them. So.
Okay. And nothing good ever came from a Ouija board. So
nothing good ever came from a Ouija board. You're absolutely right. Yes. I would say director Ava DuVernay.
And why is that?
Just because she has been able to tell compelling stories. In a way that she's able to deal with social commentary, race relations, the criminal justice system, and very important pressing issues, and she's still been able to do entertaining narrative and fiction, scripted work as well. And I appreciate that. I would like to have a career that in some ways is, and so that's one. I would say for actor, Brad Pitt, mostly because he is often, even now, still kind of the pretty face, but really, he's a great actor. He's a great actor.
The man's gorgeous.
He's all right.
He's no Johnny Depp. If I were to take on the other side, it would have to start with Johnny Depp.
He's no The Rock.
The Rock just scares me. I feel
Dwayne Johnson.
I feel like The Rock would just manhandle me too much.
I like passion.
Gentle.
He's a gentle giant.
He's a gentle giant, right? No one believes that. And what was the third? It was
writer, actors, director.
Writer. Gosh, that's tough because I don't really know screenwriter names. Brandon Young.
Oh, why's that?
Hey, I know him.
Because
I think I can make that happen.
He's brilliant. He's the next big thing. He's amazing. He's phenomenal. Do you know the kid? I say, let him write everything.
The name Brandon Junkie sounds kind of like a loser to me, but that's just me being
he's
subjective.
All about changing. But he's all about narrative change. He's all about shifting the paradigm. He makes junk treasure. He makes treasure from trash.
Oh my God! Okay. All right.
Jewels. He makes jewels from junk.
Jewels from junk. He turns junk into diamonds.
Exactly. Diamond.
All right. So there's your three. Thank you. I'm happy that you chose me without me having to clear my throat. Josh, it's your turn, sir.
My turn. I was not expecting this at all.
Thank God.
Okay, first, director. I think it goes without saying. If you know me for more than 5 minutes, I'm going to pick Robert Zemeckis. Obvious reasons. Greatest film trilogy of all time.
Alien?
Is it the BTF trilogy?
It is the BTF trilogy.
So many plot holes, but okay.
Wait, what's BTF?
Back to the Future.
Name one plot hole in Back to the Future. One.
Oh, I can name 50. Okay, first off, Doc Brown is a hypocrite. He's a massive hypocrite. Don't mess with the time-space continuum. You could alter the course of things. Don't whatever.
That's so he does a plot hole. That's stuff. Hypocrisy.
No, it doesn't. No. Give me a second.
Character flaw.
The plot hole is okay. The first one I can forgive the first one because it kind of is a smooth thing. Part 2 pissed me off from the day I saw it because all I could think of is they're going to the future to save his kids.
Uh-huh.
So when he goes to the future, that's a 30-year difference. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a 30-year time span in which Marty would not exist on the timeline because he is going around the timeline. He's not going through it, he's going around it. And they said that in Back to the Future 2.
Yeah, it
So
takes a
that
while for
indicates
the time
that is, but,
to catch
Are
up.
we not going to talk about the fact that his mom, as an adult, didn't recognize her son as somebody who she?
I've already said that too. That she even named their child after from high school. I honestly,
Calvin was there for about a week.
If I was George McFly and my wife was pregnant and had a child who was 17 in 1985, which would place him at about like being born around what was that? Like, 1963, 64, somewhere around 63,
1985, 16 would be 1968.
Okay, well, either way. So,
Woodstock.
1955 is... Okay, but hear me out. This is where we're going to run over time. You know that, right? Oh, my God. So, in less than 10 years after you meet this Calvin Klein in high school, he reveals himself to really be named Marty. All this goes down.
He doesn't reveal himself to be named Marty.
What the hell ever? They find out his name. Okay, so
they don't. He said Marty.
Lorraine.
That's a cool name.
Okay, well, that's great. So all this goes down as George and Lorraine are about to go do their thing with each other after the Fish Under the Sea dance, or Enchantment Under the Sea dance.
No, you got one thing right.
When did you watch this last?
Oh, it's been a long time, but I still remember the things that pissed me off. Now, all this goes down. I have not seen Back to the Future in about 12 years, so the fact that I remember some of this stuff give me some credit here. I'm sorry, when it comes on, I just go about living my life. Now, all this goes down, and then, lo and behold, a couple of, less than a decade later, Lorraine squeezes out Marty McFly. She decides to name him after the guy she met in high school.
Which they didn't,
Whatever.
Because his name was Calvin Klein.
His name is Calvin Klein.
Either way, so skipping the first one. Like I said, I had no issues with the first one. The second one, he skips 30 years in the future to save his children. If he was gone for 30 years, he would be missing for that time period. He'd go to a future where he didn't exist. He'd be on milk cartons or something.
That's not true.
Or in that case, how's that not true?
Because, as Doc Brown explained, it takes a while for the time stream to catch up to him. That's why he didn't vanish immediately after his parents didn't hook up.
Yeah, well, I would take it that he didn't vanish immediately after his parents didn't hook up because of the fact that the future isn't written yet. The past is still there. So it's really one of those things, like whatever happened in the past, in whatever future you're in, the past still happened. So when he went to the alternate 1985 and Back to the Future 2 and Biff looked like Donald Trump, I mean, that was pretty instantaneous.
Yeah, it's kind of eerie prediction, too.
Yeah. And then in the third one, let's just go back to that one now. They take a picture of themselves, Doc and Marty, in front of the clock to the Hill Valley's whatever tower. All this goes down. That picture would inevitably end up in the library's records, in the histories. Don't you think they're a little weird? Like, hey, we have this crackpot in town next to this little zit-faced kid, too. Like, I mean, they wow. They look a lot alike. They're not related.
All I'm hearing is a hater.
Look, his name is Clint Eastwood. Wow. The coincidences. But then again, I can't say anything because... But then again, I can't say anything because look at The Simpsons. Sometimes predictions just tend to happen. But, okay, coming off that, we're running so over time right now. So Robert Zemeckis is the director. Let's move on to a hopefully much more talented writer. Who would you pick?
You're calling me names. You know what? I'm just going to stick with the theme and say George Lucas.
Okay.
I want to have that conversation of, you said you had enough material for, 9 movies? And yet Luke and Leia were kissing in New Hope. What was that about?
You never had a hot stepsister?
No.
Wow.
I'm joking. I'm absolutely joking. Nicole, Christine, everyone else, I'm joking. All right, all that goes on, what about actor?
Actor, I'm gonna play the same card here and say Christopher Lloyd. Not just because of the greatest trilogy of all time. By the way, Alien is not a trilogy anymore. Because he's done so many things. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Taxi. He's had a long career, and I'd love to talk to him about it.
Okay. Awesome.
What about you, Brandon? You're on the spot now. What do you got?
Kevin Smith.
You said him last time.
I did not. I said him as a joke last time when we agreed that we cannot use Kevin Smith because it'd be the cheap way out. But I'm going to go with Kevin Smith.
I'm going to guess that takes up all three categories.
No. It takes up the director and writer. Because honestly,
you don't want to talk to the actor that portrayed Silent Bob?
No, I know. I enjoy Silent Bob. I did. It's just as an actor. And also the fat guy from Live Free or Die Hard, and he was also the BFF in what was that really horrible movie? P.S. I Love You, I think it was.
No,
it was like an absolute waste of any kind of studio money.
It was something where he was surfing, something like that.
No, it wasn't. No, what was it? It was the movie with Jennifer Garner, Timothy Oliphant. I don't know how to pronounce his name. The porn producer from The Girl Next Door. I can't remember his name.
Right.
But either way, actually, more specifically, the bad guy from Live Free or Die Hard. I can't remember his name, but he was in that
Tim.
too. Yeah, Tim. Yeah. Okay, Tim. Oh my lord. So, but no, it's like Kevin Smith always resonated with me as a writer, and at first I didn't really care for Clerks. I thought it was boring as hell. It just came off to me as nothing more than a guy from Jersey saying, "Hey, look at my vocabulary; it's really awesome." But then I saw Mallrats, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I'll give Clerks another chance. I went back and revisited it. I'm like, it's good. It's not that bad. Then Dogma came out, then Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and I'm like, okay, I'm in. I like this guy. Chasing Amy was good. It's just not really one of my favorites. But Chasing Amy did show me that he had the talent to be able to produce something, to direct something that's actually very, very well done, like a good drama. But then what really caught my attention with him, what made me fall in love with Kevin Smith as a director and a writer, was Clerks 2. Because you took these characters that started off as just like a black and white $20,000 movie that he also raised the finances for himself, which, again, much respect to that. And he made a much more profound story out of it. And it was actually, there was this tension between the two main characters that just wasn't there in the other movie. It was just fantastic. Just like this whole, dynamic between the two.
Yeah, when you take a couple of Gen X slackers and, they kind of grow up a little bit, but not quite there yet.
We just call that being a man. No, there's no such thing as a guy that completely ever grows up. I still have a Magic 8 Ball, like I said. I still love my Magic 8 Ball. I would be lost without it. But, classic, my dog's name is Indiana Jones. Because I thought it would be cool. But let's see, as far as an actor goes, I would honestly have to...
Brian O'Halloran?
Brian O'Halloran. No, actually, as much as I like him, I think he's funny. I'm going to have to go with a more of an independent route here.
Okay.
It's because he does a lot of his own stuff. I'd have to go with Ricky Gervais. It's just even though he's more of a writer, and he's a writer, director, comedian, actor, and all that, but he's got so many things under his belt.
Mm-hmm.
There are... Okay, we interviewed Mark Hensley a few weeks ago, and he had recommended that I watch this movie, or this show, Extras, on Netflix. I watched it, and I couldn't stop watching it. It's hysterical, but he has so many other shows, like Afterlife, and... I can't remember the name of the other one. I just saw it on Netflix the other day. I can't even go back to it. But not The Office. It's the one where he plays a mentally challenged guy working in a nursing facility, like a nursing home.
Oh,
but,
I don't think I've seen this.
But these all look so good. And he's actually very, very, very flexible actor when it comes to what he portrays. And I would love to be able to sit down with him and actually talk to him about these roles and have a drink and listen to him roast me or some other people. I mean, I think it'd be awesome. But that's my list.
Well, before we get out of here, we do have more business.
What is our business?
Last week, you recommended Relish.
Oh, right. And guys, again, if you haven't seen that yet, get off your asses, go see the movie. Ernest, you especially, I would recommend you watch this movie because I think I talked to you about this. But again, great film. But Josh, go ahead.
I watched it.
And what did you think?
You know what? At first, I was not sure if I was going to get on board with, what was going on. But it really came into its own as it progressed, and I was very taken with some of the cast. It was a fine movie. Everyone should definitely watch it. I second Brandon's recommendation to watch Relish. You can find it on Amazon Prime. It's, a few bucks to rent. I suggest, you pay that $3 or $4 to give it a watch. There are other ways if you have certain channel subscriptions. So if you feel like, that's the kind of thing you like, by all means, watch it. About teenagers breaking out of it's not quite a mental institution, but it's not nothing. They're supposed to be watched, and okay. they bust out to go to. They want to go to this event. It's a road movie. Really dug it, and like I said, the cast was phenomenal.
See,
is it set in a dystopian future?
No. It's set in modern times, and it's a great way. As I said last week, everybody that's over the age of, let's say, 20, let's say 30 years old, you watch this movie, it is a great way to feel real old real quick. But at the same time, it's still also a great way to connect with the problems of the younger generations and also things that you may not be accustomed to when it comes to people's personal lives. It's actually very eye-opening with a lot of things. But, Josh, I'm just going to label this as a insert into the column of Brandon Knows Best.
I don't think
because I'm right and you're
where does that column exist in the world?
I just fucking made it. That's where it exists, okay? It's going to go on the website tonight. You think I'm joking.
Who
okay,
agrees to this creation? Who's agreed to this creation? Doesn't it take multiple...
Well, here, 1 second. Let me... One second, okay? I am working on this, okay? And Danny, you want a treat? You want a treat? Put your paw. Oh, good boy. There you go. Okay, he raised his hand. I raised my hand. There's 2 votes right there.
But we can't see this.
That doesn't matter. You have my word to go off of. My word's about as strong as wet plywood right now, so...
A column of mediocrity and shame.
But let's not make this about me and my awesome dog. Let's make this about Josh's recommendation. So, Josh, go ahead. What's your recommendation this week?
You told me to come back with a recommendation of my own this week, and it's easy to say. I just in the last 24 hours watched the original Star Wars trilogy. That's neither here nor there because, quite frankly, everybody's seen Star Wars, and if you haven't, chances are you're going to by accident at some point. It's not really a good recommendation. But I was doing my quarantine thing at home and browsing Netflix when a couple of titles caught my eye, so I watched them. One of them is The Humanity Bureau with Nicolas Cage. I can't say I recommend that.
Oh, my God.
Just going to put that out there.
Nicolas Cage, are you kidding me?
I will suggest, hold on, let me bring up the information. It's a movie called Time Trap. The title, the poster, everything makes it feel like a sci-fi original channel movie. And I kind of pressed play expecting that. What I got was something else entirely. Directed by Mark Dennis and Ben Foster. Also produced by them, written by Mark Dennis It is the story of teenagers. We got to get off this teenager kick, man. Next week it has to be like a geriatric recommendation. Just saying. It's about teenagers that go looking for a professor in a set of caves, and while they're in these caves, the twist, I guess you could say, is time moves slower in the caves than it does outside the caves. It's in the description, so I don't think it's a spoiler.
Oh, okay. All right. I was going to say, I'm going to watch this, and they're going to come out to like geriatric park or something. Are you kidding me?
So, just the way they did the special effects, very simple but very effective. It makes the most of what it has for a production, and I think innovation comes from, of course, necessity. And this, I don't see anything on here about the budget, so I'm going to say it wasn't very high budget, so they made do with what they have to show the effects they needed to show. We see all the time in the big budget movies just unnecessary special effects that absolutely do nothing to the story. So in a smaller film, in a smaller movie, everything has to count, especially when it comes to not having a ton of cash to do it. So I was really impressed with the way they did the effects that they did. There were a few things that were super cheesy because they, I guess, wanted to go for something and maybe didn't quite hit a home run with it. But it stars some people that you probably haven't heard of. Brienne Howie.
Oh my God, Josh!
I know, not exactly the glowing recommendation, but Brienne Howie's been around for a while. She was in Horrible Bosses 2. She's had some appearances on Batwoman, so you've seen her around a little bit. Cassidy Aaron Gifford. That's an interesting name. Daughter of Kathy Lee Gifford.
Kathy Lee Gifford.
Yeah.
Of course.
And playing, I think, he's the professor. Andrew Wilson, the older brother of Owen and Luke.
There's another Wilson?
Yeah, and apparently he's an actor. So at 95 minutes, you're not...
Carney Wilson, too.
He must be like the... I think he must be like the Stephen Baldwin of the bunch.
Probably, but he put in a good performance as an archaeology professor. It's a little bit Goonies, a little bit, I don't know, Time Machine, and
Ernie.
You said it again.
Sorry.
Ernest. I said Ernest.
Yeah, that's what
Moving on.
Said. But it's my recommendation of the week, and you can watch it on Netflix. So there you go.
Yeah, if you don't have Netflix, well,
You're
it's
screwed.
2020. Get Netflix. I mean, come on. The hell you watch? YouTube? It gets old. Got ads. But, okay. Well, that's good. And I actually just thought, like, as you said, what did you say about innovation? Innovation with opportunity?
I don't remember what
Innovation.
I said.
Innovation brings out. Innovation brings.
Is
It was something. It was,
something. Necessity.
Yeah, I
is the mother.
paraphrased a famous saying.
Okay. I'm going to make up a saying and just make up the words for you. I came up with a really great idea for a new thing to do each week. Well, maybe not each week. Each time we have a guest.
Okay.
Okay? A guest or an interview, and if it's another time where I conduct the interview without your presence due to scheduling conflicts, then I will have this game in hand, and it is make up a quote on the spot.
Okay.
And then I myself, ladies and gentlemen listening, and my gentleman on the on air right now with me, I myself will come up with an overly cheesy picture. I will stalk your Facebook. Okay? I'm going to find the best picture I can find. I'm going to make it look really art house-ish. And then I'm going to put the quote on there. And I will post it on the website. Words to live by, whether they're good or not. It's going to happen. It's like my favorite quote that I tell everyone in five, like whatever you're dealing with, if you're stressed out, if you're depressed, if you have all this stuff going on, you don't know how to handle it, everything's falling apart, bad breakup, whatever, in 500 years, we'll all be dead, most likely forgotten, and none of it will have mattered anyway. It's really bad words to live by. Really not innovating at all, but it's my favorite quote to use when I hear someone tell me a problem that I really don't care about. But, God, I sound so like such an asshole. I don't like this.
That's okay. Because my quote for those instances is, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Yeah, I can't use that because, that's... I would love to use that. See, how about this? How about this? I'll quote you as saying, oh, well.
I personally like your quote of, I'm an asshole.
Well, is that a quote?
If you honestly think for a second that I will not get a picture of myself or take a picture of myself wearing a really nice jacket, button-down shirt, tie, most likely I'll just have boxes on underneath because, fuck it, you only see it from the chest up. With me staring into the camera, very provocative-like, with the quotations, I'm an asshole, - Brandon Junk. You, sir, do not know me at all. So,
well, I want a dozen of those photos ready to go by the end of the night in various sizes so we can give them to people for
We haven't had a dozen people. We have had you, me, Mark, and Ernest. I almost said it. I caught myself. Ernest. We have had the four of us so far on the show.
No, I want the pictures of you in 12 different sizes so we can give people PC backgrounds, cell phone wallpapers of that quote.
Yes. I want mine on cyan or magenta.
You think I won't. I am off the next couple of days, save for like a midnight shift tomorrow. So, I've got time to do this. But,
well, while you're doing this, why don't you tell people where they'll be able to find it? Website, Facebook.
I will. Okay, so, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls, if you're too young to listen to this, I do not apologize for my language because you should not be listening to this. There's an explicit advisory warning on our podcast. So, I don't feel bad for you, and your parents can't be mad at me.
Yeah,
but you can check us. Yep. Yeah, well, doesn't work for GTA 5 either, right?
No.
So you can find us everybody, on Facebook at The WADcast, one word. Same with Instagram, The WADcast. We even have a website. It is titled TheWADcast.com. And I forget Twitter because I don't do that. That's all you, Josh. So what's our Twitter account? Because I have not seen it since we made it.
If you want to follow the show, you can follow us at WADcastPod on Twitter. And if you like the way my voice sounds, you can always follow me at SkitComic. I will make sure that all of the show's links are posted as we go live, so you can join us in the chat if you so choose. If you want to join us, we're here every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific at semicorestudios.com. So if you are so inclined and free, quite frankly, nothing has completely opened up yet, so you're still with us. I know you are. Join us every Friday night. And you know what? Forgo the bars. Just join us anyway. We can talk about movies, writing, acting, and directing right here on the WADcast. So right now, I want to say thank you to Ernest here for joining us tonight. Don't forget to check out his show, Fly Brother. Check your local listings. You can go to flybrother.net so you can see what he's up to in his travels. Brandon, do you have any final words?
Just a few. First off, don't forego the bars. That's evil, okay? Don't go get white girl wasted, though, but just go have a good time. Get your friends together. But right now, don't go to the bars because... Don't go to the bars right now because the whole COVID-19 thing. I do work in healthcare, and, I won't get into that because... I won't get into that because this is not related to this podcast. Not that we haven't discussed other things unrelated to this podcast tonight. But I will say, I hope you guys are staying safe, staying smart. That's all I will add to that. I will keep my views to myself and just wish for the very best for everybody. But that being the case, I really have nothing else to bring to the table tonight. As you said, Josh, Ernest, thank you very much for joining us tonight as our very first live special guest. It has been awesome, as always, picking your brain, talking to you, as we've done for the last 30-plus years together. But this time in group in front of the entire world. So,
thank you again. I was happy to be here and talk about myself and to offer nothing to your conversation about great 80s films.
Except for Back to the Future. But yeah, no, exactly. That's right. That's right. See, everyone agrees. Everyone
we
agrees.
Didn't talk about Baby Boom, so I didn't have much to...
Nope.
Did you see
Junior's better than Back to the Future.
Junior.
Oh, you are so fired.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. Come on, everyone knows Junior. It's where Arnold gets pregnant. But either way, that's my views. Okay, my views.
I was 6, and I said I thought it was dumb.
I was 25. I was like, this is my shit.
Brandon, you're pretty brave for someone that doesn't, have a Twitter account.
Well, I don't Twitter myself, Josh.
Well, maybe you should.
I might.
Then
sorry, Mom. I know you're still listening.
Talk to you directly about how wrong you are.
Meantime, I just said I don't Twitter myself. I know damn well my mom is listening to this podcast, but she did raise me. She's known me for 37 years, so she knows to not be ready to expect anything at all. But either way, no, I've got nothing else, all joking aside. This has actually probably been by far our longest podcast so far.
76 minutes. Pretty good.
Yep. But no, once again, Ernest, thank you so much, brother, for coming on with and talking to us and everything else. And guys, please check out, as Josh said, check out podcast. My God, check out Fly Brother. Thanks for listening to the WADcast. Check out Fly Brother. Go to the website flybrother.net. Go check out the TV show. Check your local listens. Again, as Josh said, and our inspirational quotes that I will completely make up and pull out of my asshole tonight will be on the website for your viewing pleasures, as well as on our Instagram and on our Facebook page. So, Mark, if you're listening, I will be coming to you, or most likely just making up a slogan for you too. I don't know yet.
He's not listening.
He may not be. I'll just text him. I'll just text him and tell him. So,
all right. With all that being said, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe to the WADcast. Available where all fine podcasts are sold. I had a quote that I said at the end, but I guess I don't remember what it is anymore. So I guess I'll just say goodnight.
You're so professional, Josh. I wish I could.
Okay, how about this? Before we close this out, I'll make up your damn words for you. I'm a writer, but I suck at writing some things, and coming up with quotes that are more genuine is not really, as Austin Powers would put it, it's not my bag, baby. So I'm going to write this down now. Josh, what is your quote of the week?
Be excellent.
I think you're sending a yearbook. Oh my God.
I got the outro music playing and all, and let's end the show, man. Let's end it.
All right, we're out.